Captain Elias Draven had faced many dangers in his career, from asteroid storms to hostile alien skirmishes, but nothing had prepared him for the cold, alien prison he now found himself in. The walls were smooth, metallic, and seemed almost alive, pulsating faintly with an eerie green light. He was chained to a young engineer, Lyra Voss, whose eyes mirrored his own mix of fear and determination. "How did we even get here?" Elias whispered, trying not to panic. The chains were strong but not tight enough to cut their wrists, a cruel reminder that escape was possible if only they could figure out how. Lyra shook her head. "I don't know. But we need to think fast. These creatures are not like anything we've faced before." The last thing they remembered was a routine scouting mission on a planet in the Outer Rim. Their ship had been ambushed by a sleek, black vessel that seemed to appear from nowhere. Pulses of energy had surged through the hull and then darkness. Now they were awake, chained, and alone in a place that seemed to defy physics. Elias ran his hand along the cold wall, feeling strange grooves that seemed to hum under his touch. "This prison, it's alive," he muttered. "Or at least it's designed to make us think it is." Lyra nodded. "I noticed. The walls respond to touch, like they're aware of us." She flexed her fingers, testing the limits of her chains. "If we're going to survive, we need a plan, and we need to trust each other completely." Elias glanced at her. He had fought alongside many soldiers and engineers before, but this was different. In every training session he had led, trust had been important. But now it was a matter of survival. "Agreed," he said. "We'll work together. No heroics." A faint hum echoed through the chamber, growing louder with each passing second. Then, without warning, a holographic figure appeared before them. It was tall, multi-limbed, and alien, with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid metal. Its voice was calm but resonant, speaking in tones that vibrated in their skulls rather than their ears. "Humans, you are here for observation. Your struggle will be informative." Lyra swallowed hard. "Observation? Like lab rats?" The alien's gaze, if it could be called that, seemed to pierce through her thoughts. "Not rats. Subjects. Your responses to fear, cooperation, and ingenuity will be measured." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we'll give you an answer you won't forget," he said. He could feel Lyra's tension beside him, and he realized that their minds were already beginning to sync. They didn't need words to communicate the shared thought. Survival. Hours passed, or was it minutes? Time seemed distorted. The chains limited their movement, but it also forced them to work together. When the floor beneath them vibrated, Lyra instinctively leaned into Elias, and he caught her before she could fall. Every movement, every reaction, was a small test from the aliens. Lyra finally broke the silence. "We need to understand the rules. There's always a pattern, even with creatures like these." Elias nodded. "I've studied alien tech before. If we can figure out their behavior, maybe we can predict their next move." Their first test came sooner than expected. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing a corridor filled with floating orbs that emitted a soft blue light. The chains loosened slightly, giving them a chance to move. Elias took the lead, carefully stepping around the orbs. Each orb seemed to react to their presence, shifting position when approached. "Careful," Lyra warned. "They're tracking us." Elias stopped. "Then we need to make them see us differently. Less like prey, more like a puzzle." They moved slowly, deliberately, studying the orb's movements. It was unlike anything Elias had encountered. The orbs weren't just sensors, they seemed almost intelligent, reacting to hesitation, confidence, and cooperation. After several tense minutes, they reached the end of the corridor. "You see?" Lyra whispered. "If we work together, we can manipulate them." Elias nodded, feeling a spark of hope. They were beginning to understand that human teamwork and creativity could outmatch raw alien technology. As they rested in a small alcove, the alien figure reappeared, this time without words. A series of lights flashed across its form, and a wave of images entered their minds. Humans struggling against impossible odds, machines failing, and civilizations collapsing. The vision ended with a single thought imprinted on their consciousness. Will you fail as all others have? Lyra's hand gripped Elias's arm. They're testing us, psychologically, trying to see if we break. Elias exhaled slowly. We won't break. We have each other, and we have our minds. That's something they can't take. Night, or what passed for night, fell in the alien prison. Strange bioluminescent plants grew along the walls, casting faint shadows. The air smelled faintly metallic, but it wasn't suffocating. For the first time, Elias and Lyra allowed themselves to sit and observe. We should experiment, Lyra said. See what triggers their reactions. Learn their patterns. Elias agreed. Let's start small. One movement, one change at a time. We need data before we act. They spent the next cycle, or whatever measured time in this prison, moving deliberately, testing the alien response. A change in their walking pace, a small signal exchanged between them, a shift in position. Every action produced a reaction. Slowly, they began to map the prison's rules. You know, Lyra said quietly, I never thought I'd say this, but being chained to you is actually helpful. We have to rely on each other fully. Elias smiled faintly. And that's why humans survive where others fail. We adapt. And we cooperate. It's built into us. Their conversation was interrupted by a deep, vibrating hum that filled the chamber. The alien figure appeared again, this time closer, and for the first time it seemed curious. The chains vibrated in response to the alien's presence, almost as if it were measuring their heartbeat. You are different, the alien finally communicated, a thought that entered their minds directly. Your responses are unique. Lyra exchanged a glance with Elias. That's good, right? She asked. Elias nodded. It means we're not just subjects, we're unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. For the first time since their capture, a sliver of hope glimmered. They weren't helpless. They had each other, they had their minds, and they had the ability to outthink the aliens. As the chamber dimmed and the hum faded, Elias whispered, Tomorrow, we start testing the boundaries. We'll figure out their weaknesses, and we'll find a way out of this place. Lyra nodded, determination shining in her eyes. Together. The chains that had once seemed like prison bars now felt like a reminder of their unity. They were human, clever, and adaptable, and in a place designed to break them, that might just be enough. Somewhere deep within the alien ship, unseen eyes watched, analyzing, calculating. The test had only just begun, and the humans were already proving that they were unlike any the aliens had faced before. The alien prison had settled into a strange rhythm. Elias and Lyra had spent the cycle observing, testing, and learning the strange rules of their confinement. The chains that bound them were no longer just a physical barrier. They had become a symbol of their forced cooperation. Every move had to be calculated, every action observed. We need to understand them better, Lyra said, stretching her arms cautiously. It's clear they study our reactions, but if we can learn their patterns, we can predict them. Elias nodded. Patterns? Right. They react to fear, hesitation, confidence. So we stay calm, we test small movements, and we observe. Lyra leaned against the smooth wall, thinking aloud. I noticed something yesterday. The walls and the corridors seem almost like a sensor network. They change in response to us. They respond when we make choices together. Elias raised an eyebrow. You mean like they're measuring cooperation? Like, if we work together, it confuses them. Yes, Lyra said. If we show them a human can act as a single unit, maybe we can use that to our advantage. He considered this. Humans had survived countless challenges on Earth because they could adapt, plan together, and use creativity. Perhaps the same qualities could be used here. The next test came unexpectedly. The chamber vibrated and a panel opened in the floor, revealing a passage leading downward. The greenish light of the walls seemed to pulse faster, almost impatiently. Elias looked at Lyra. We follow carefully, step by step. We don't rush. She nodded. We do this together. The chains adjusted, giving them more freedom as they stepped into the corridor. It twisted and curved in ways that made them question gravity itself. The floor tilted slightly, the walls shimmered, and the air felt thick with tension. Floating orbs appeared again, moving smoothly in patterns that seemed random, but were clearly not. Observe, Lyra whispered. They're following our movements, measuring them. Elias focused, moving slowly. Each step, each adjustment of his body was mirrored by the orbs. But when they moved together, matching their steps and timing perfectly, the orbs hesitated, paused, and then shifted in unexpected ways. They don't like it when we act as one, Elias said with a faint smile. They expect unpredictability from us, panic, fear, but not unity. Lyra grinned. Then we'll give them unity and cleverness. As they proceeded, they reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. The chains tightened slightly, forcing them to choose together. Each option looked equally dangerous. We need a signal, Elias said. One of us picks, the other follows. Then we test the result. Lyra nodded and pointed to the left corridor. We go here, slow and steady. They moved cautiously, coordinating their steps perfectly. The orbs followed, and a low hum vibrated through the walls. But unlike before, the hum felt softer, almost contemplative. The alien system was reacting differently, unable to fully predict them. Elias whispered, That's it. They're learning. But they're not used to humans being this synchronized. They continued through the corridors, finding small alcoves and side passages that seemed to be designed for observation. Sensors and panels emitted light pulses, and the aliens' telepathic presence occasionally pressed into their minds, probing, questioning, analyzing. Lyra touched one of the panels, feeling its vibrations. It reacts to touch, but only certain types of touch, gentle or confident. Elias nodded. Then we'll need to experiment. One subtle movement at a time, and we record their reactions. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time was meaningless here. They discovered that even small gestures, tilting the head, shifting a foot, breathing in sync, produced reactions from the aliens. Sometimes the corridors opened slightly, or lights dimmed, or the orbs paused. They began to map the patterns mentally. Lyra paused at a junction, staring at the floor. There's a rhythm here, the way the orbs move, the way the walls pulse. It's almost like a heartbeat. Maybe if we match it, Elias considered, then we become part of their system instead of being trapped by it. They tried it. Step by step, synchronized with the subtle pulsing of the walls, they advanced. The orbs moved aside as if respecting their precision. The chains, once restrictive, now allowed them a fluidity that almost felt natural. They were learning not just to survive, but to manipulate the environment. As they reached another chamber, a faint holographic projection appeared in front of them. It showed countless creatures of many shapes and sizes, all trapped and failing against the alien prison. The final image was of a humanoid figure, strong and calm, standing against the alien systems with confidence and unity. Lyra whispered, They're showing us a warning or a lesson? Elias shook his head. Maybe both, but look at it. The figure survives because it thinks, plans, and works with another. That's us. They want to see if we can reach that level. They pressed forward, reaching a wider chamber filled with strange mechanical arms and floating energy fields. Each movement was a test, each hesitation a risk. But they worked together flawlessly, communicating with nods, eye contact, and subtle signals. Elias noticed something remarkable. They expect fear, but we're calm, and every action is deliberate. That seems new to them. Lyra smiled. Humans survive with brains, not just brawn. That's why we're different. Suddenly, the hum in the chamber shifted, changing pitch. A wave of energy passed over them, but it didn't harm them. Instead, it revealed an exit, a hidden passage they hadn't noticed before. Elias's eyes widened. They're giving us a path, maybe as part of the test. Or maybe they're curious to see what we'll do next. Lyra glanced at him. We take it, carefully, but we don't rush. They'll adapt if we make mistakes. They moved as one, each step deliberate, each motion coordinated. The chains that had once seemed like a curse were now a tool, forcing them to stay in sync and reinforcing their focus. As they approached the exit, the alien presence pressed into their minds again, less forceful this time. A single thought entered them. Adaptation, ingenuity, unity. Elias whispered, That's the key. They respect intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. That's why we survive. Lyra nodded. We're not just subjects. We're anomalies, unpredictable. That's our advantage. The passage opened into a dimly lit observation chamber. From here, they could see parts of the alien ship they hadn't imagined. Floating corridors, spinning platforms, energy conduits running in impossible directions. This place is a machine, Elias said, and we're learning how to navigate it, step by step. Lyra touched his arm. Step by step, together. We'll figure it out. I know it. Elias allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since their capture, hope surged through him. They were still trapped, yes, but they had discovered a truth about humans that the aliens had underestimated. Intelligence, courage, and cooperation were weapons as strong as any laser or shield. As the chamber's lights dimmed, signaling the end of the cycle, Elias and Lyra rested for a moment. The chains were heavy, but they were a reminder of unity, not weakness. Lyra whispered, Tomorrow, we push further. We test more, learn more, and we get closer to escape. Elias nodded. Together, always, we'll make them see that humans are unlike anything they've captured before. Somewhere deep in the alien ship, unseen observers recorded every reaction. But Elias and Lyra had already proven one undeniable fact. Humans could adapt, think, and work as one. And in a place designed to break them, that uniqueness was more powerful than anything the aliens had imagined. The night, or whatever passed for night aboard the alien ship, was quiet, but Elias and Lyra couldn't rest for long. The lessons of the previous cycle had changed everything. They now understood that the aliens measured more than just physical strength. They tested creativity, cooperation, and calm under pressure. And if they were going to escape, they would have to use all three. Elias flexed his wrists in the chains, feeling the grooves where the restraints slid smoothly but firmly. Tomorrow we move further, he whispered. We know their patterns better now. We just need to push carefully and precisely. Lyra nodded, her eyes scanning the walls that pulsed faintly with light. We need a route. One misstep, one hesitation, and we'll be trapped again. But if we act together, we can do this. By morning, the two had mapped their immediate surroundings. The chains, once a hindrance, now forced them to move in perfect sync. They discovered a small maintenance corridor leading to a section of the ship that seemed less monitored. If they could reach it, they might have a chance to reach the alien vessel's command center, or at least send a message to human ships in the area. Their first challenge appeared almost immediately. A series of energy fields blocked their path, pulsating in a rhythmic pattern. Each field emitted a low hum that made the air vibrate. One wrong move would trigger alarms, alerting the aliens to their presence. Elias studied the pattern. Step when it hums low, pause when it hums high, he instructed. Lyra mirrored his movements, her hand brushing against his as they navigated the sequence. The first field passed without incident. A wave of relief passed through both of them, but the next one was more complex, shifting unpredictably. They had to improvise. Elias signaled to Lyra, and together they used the chains to swing slightly, timing their jumps with the shifting energy waves. "Got it," Lyra whispered. "Step, swing, move." They cleared the field just as the alien system emitted a sharp pulse. The orbs nearby hovered, watching, but did not act. Their cooperation had confused the system again. "This is it," Elias said. "We're learning faster than they can adapt." The corridor beyond opened into a large chamber filled with spinning platforms, floating conduits of light, and mechanical arms moving in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were carefully synchronized. The room was a maze, designed to trap intruders or drive them to exhaustion. Lyra studied the environment. "We can use the chains," she said. "They limit us physically, yes, but if we swing, vault, and time our movements, we can ride the platforms and avoid the arms." Elias nodded. "Then we move as one. Timing is everything." Step by step, leap by leap, they advanced. The mechanical arms swiped with precision, but Elias and Lyra moved faster, anticipating the rhythm. Their teamwork allowed them to compensate for the chain's restrictions. Every glance, every gesture communicated a signal: jump, duck, roll. The aliens could sense their coordination, but instead of punishing them, the systems seemed to recalibrate, unsure how to respond. Halfway across, an arm swung toward Lyra. Elias pushed her just in time, their bodies twisting in perfect synchrony to avoid the strike. She caught her breath. "We're doing it," she gasped. "Yes," Elias said, scanning ahead. "But don't relax. The ship will test us harder soon." They reached a platform leading to a narrow corridor. The walls pulsed faster here, and the hum of the energy fields grew intense. It was clear they were entering the heart of the alien vessel. Every instinct screamed caution, but Elias and Lyra moved with purpose. Suddenly, a section of the floor shifted beneath them, revealing a gap. They could not see what lay below. Lyra's heart raced. "We have to jump together," she said. Elias measured the distance. "On my mark. 1, 2, 3. They leapt, chains taut between them, swinging slightly as they landed on the opposite side. The momentum carried them forward, and for a moment, neither looked back. The gap had been a test, a trap to measure fear, but they had crossed it together, proving their adaptability. Beyond the gap, a series of observation orbs floated silently. They were larger now, their energy fields more intense. Elias whispered, "These are the real watchers. They can analyze our every thought and motion. Stay focused." Lyra nodded. "We act as one. No mistakes." They moved slowly, deliberately, each step mirrored, each breath synchronized. The orbs hovered, pulsing in response, but then something surprising happened. One orb drifted aside, creating a narrow path through the chamber. Elias glanced at Lyra. "They're allowing us forward, or at least testing us further." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then we take the test and turn it to our advantage." The corridor led them to another chamber, where a holographic projection displayed the interior of the alien ship in detail. Energy conduits, rotating platforms, and mechanical arms filled the space. Elias realized they were in the perfect position to plan the next stage of their escape. "We can use this," he said. "If we memorize the layout, we can anticipate the obstacles and avoid them." Lyra studied the projection. "There's a maintenance shaft here. It leads toward the command center. We can move through it, quietly, unseen. Elias nodded. Good. But we need to be fast. The aliens are intelligent. They'll notice us soon. As they prepared to move, the alien presence pressed into their minds again. This time, the thought was clearer. Will you succeed where others failed? Elias met Lyra's gaze. We will. Together. The shaft was narrow, forcing them to move carefully. Chains clinked lightly, but they adjusted their movements, minimizing noise. The walls of the shaft pulsed gently, sensing their passage. Elias realized that even the smallest misstep could alert the aliens, so they moved as one entity, perfectly synchronized. Halfway through, a small panel along the shaft opened, revealing a security drone. Its sensors swept the corridor, scanning for movement. Lyra froze. Elias whispered, "Step back slightly. Wait for its rhythm." They timed their movements with the drone's scanning pattern. Step by step, they advanced, the chains helping them coordinate their motions. The drone passed without noticing them. They exhaled silently, relief mingled with tension. Finally, the shaft opened into a wide platform overlooking a control hub. Elias and Lyra could see the command center in the distance, lights flashing and panels glowing. Communication terminals, energy conduits, and control interfaces sprawled across the room. "This is it," Lyra whispered. "If we reach that center, we can send a signal. Or maybe disable their security long enough to escape." Elias glanced at her. "Then we move carefully, one step at a time, together." They began descending toward the control hub, chains guiding them, cooperation guiding their minds. The aliens had designed the ship to break intruders, but humans had a different strength: intelligence, creativity, and unity. Every obstacle, every test, only proved that humans could adapt faster than the aliens anticipated. As they reached the edge of the control hub, the alien presence pressed once more. But instead of fear, Elias and Lyra felt determination. They had survived the traps, the energy fields, the observation orbs. Now, they were close to the heart of the ship, and closer to proving that human ingenuity could overcome any prison. Lyra gripped Elias's arm. "We're almost there. Are you ready?" Elias nodded. "I was born ready. Let's show them what humans can do." And with that, the two humans, bound by chains but united in purpose, stepped into the chamber, prepared to face whatever the alien ship could throw at them next. The control hub stretched out before Elias and Lyra like the nervous heart of the alien ship. Panels blinked with shifting lights, energy conduits hummed, and mechanical arms moved with precise coordination. From this vantage point, they could see the vastness of the ship, corridors twisting like impossible mazes, and orbs floating silently above. Lyra's eyes scanned the room. "If we can reach the communication terminals, we can send a signal to the fleet, or at least create a diversion to escape." Elias nodded, chains taut between them. "We need to move carefully. Every step counts. They'll notice us if we act recklessly." They began to advance, stepping over rotating platforms and ducking under energy beams. The alien sensors seemed to react to their presence, subtle waves of energy passing along the walls as if measuring the humans' courage and cooperation. But Elias and Lyra had learned the rhythm. They moved as one, anticipating every pulse, every vibration. As they approached the first terminal, a mechanical arm swooped down. It scanned the area, searching for intruders. Lyra froze. Elias whispered, "Mirror its movement, step when it pauses, freeze when it sweeps. We do it together." Step by step, they advanced, chains swinging slightly in harmony with their movements. The arm passed without touching them. A wave of relief passed through both of them. The aliens had underestimated the power of human coordination and calm under pressure. Lyra tapped the terminal, and a holographic interface sprang to life. Alien symbols and shapes floated in midair, but with careful observation, she began to understand the layout. The control system is complex, she said, but not impossible. If I can access the main communication array, we can reach our fleet. Elias kept watch, scanning for any patrols or orbs. Do it. I've got your back. Lyra's fingers moved quickly, deciphering symbols and translating commands into human logic. The alien's technology was advanced, but it reacted predictably to patterns of logic and careful manipulation. Within minutes, she had opened a secure channel to the outer decks of the ship. "We're in," she whispered. "Now, we can send a message." Before they could act further, the orbs above shifted. They began moving faster, responding to their intrusion. The ship's telepathic presence pressed against their minds, probing, testing, challenging them. Elias gritted his teeth. "They know we're here. Act fast." Lyra transmitted a short, encrypted signal to the human fleet, warning them of the alien ship's location and sending coordinates. But she didn't stop there. Using the alien interface, she began manipulating the energy conduits, rerouting power from security systems to open corridors elsewhere in the ship. "Look," Lyra said, "we can turn their own systems against them. We can create safe paths while confusing them." Elias nodded, admiration in his eyes. "That's human ingenuity. We improvise. We adapt. They didn't account for that." They moved carefully, stepping through newly opened passages. Mechanical arms attempted to intercept them. But the rerouted energy caused delays and miscalculations. The observation orbs hovered, blinking faster, clearly analyzing the humans' every move. Lyra whispered, "They're trying to understand us, but we're unpredictable. That's our advantage." Elias glanced at her, eyes sharp. "And we have another advantage. We work as one. They can't break that." The corridor led them to a high platform overlooking the main command center. Below, alien officers, tall, multi-limbed, and glowing faintly, monitored the ship's systems. The humans had never seen beings like this up close, but there was no time for awe. They had to act. Lyra crouched low. "If we can create a feedback loop in their sensors, we can blind them temporarily. That should give us a chance to escape." Elias studied the conduits running across the room. "We can do it. I'll handle the physical connections. You control the interface." They moved quickly, efficiently. Elias used the chains to swing across gaps and reach vital energy nodes. Lyra manipulated the alien systems, causing pulses of energy to reroute through the observation orbs and mechanical arms. Within moments, the ship's surveillance was disrupted. The orbs flickered and spun, mechanical arms halted mid-sweep. The aliens reacted immediately, sending waves of telepathic probing toward them, but Elias and Lyra had anticipated it. They focused, breathing together, moving as one. The chains that had once limited them now ensured they acted in perfect unison. "Almost there," Lyra said. "Just a few more nodes." Elias reached the final conduit, using his weight and the chains to secure a connection. Sparks flew, and the energy pulsed in unpredictable patterns. The ship groaned as systems struggled against the sudden feedback. Below, the alien officers froze, clearly disoriented by the disruption. This was the moment Elias and Lyra had been waiting for. "Now," Elias whispered. "Move toward the exit. Carefully." They descended from the platform, moving through the chaos of the disrupted systems. Orbs whirred in confusion, mechanical arms froze mid-motion, and the walls seemed to pulse erratically. They had turned the ship's own defenses into obstacles for the aliens themselves. As they advanced, a hidden passage opened, a maintenance shaft that led directly toward the outer decks. Elias and Lyra had discovered it during their observations, but now it offered a real chance for freedom. "Almost there," Lyra said, gripping Elias's arm. "We've learned enough of their system. We can do this." They entered the shaft carefully, chains guiding their movements as they descended. The alien presence pressed at their minds, but their confidence and cooperation acted like a shield. Each step brought them closer to the surface, closer to the open space where human ships could respond to their signal. Halfway down, the shaft narrowed, forcing them to move slowly. A sudden pulse from the aliens caused the walls to vibrate, a test of fear and reflexes. Elias adjusted, keeping pace with Lyra. Steady, together. Finally, the shaft opened onto an outer deck. Stars stretched infinitely beyond the glass-like walls of the ship, and a faint signal beacon pulsed on Lyra's device, confirming that the human fleet had received their message. Elias exhaled. "We did it. We turned the tables." Lyra smiled, exhausted but determined. "Not yet. We still need to escape the ship itself. But we've proven something important. We're not just prey. Humans can adapt, think, and work as one. We're unpredictable, and that makes us powerful." A series of alarms echoed through the ship. The aliens had regained partial control, but Elias and Lyra had already planned their next move. Using the chains and their knowledge of the ship's layout, they could navigate to the hangar bay, where a small escape pod awaited. "Step by step," Elias whispered, echoing the lessons they had learned from the beginning. "We've come this far. Nothing can stop us now." Lyra nodded. Together. As they moved toward the hangar, the alien ship seemed to resist them. But every obstacle only reinforced the truth they had discovered. Humans were clever, adaptable, and united in a way the aliens had never seen before. The outer decks shimmered as energy pulses illuminated the corridor. Elias and Lyra moved carefully, their chains guiding them, their minds synchronized. The fleet beyond the stars awaited, ready to assist. Somewhere deep within the ship, alien sensors blinked and hummed, struggling to understand what had happened. But Elias and Lyra had already proven a fundamental truth. Humans could take the impossible, analyze it, adapt to it, and turn it in their favor. The final steps toward the hangar were just ahead. Their courage, intelligence, and cooperation had carried them this far. Now, freedom was within reach. And as they approached the exit, chains taut but spirits unbroken, Elias whispered to Lyra, "We've done more than survive. We've shown them that humans are a force they can't fully control." Lyra grinned. "And now, we finish what we started." The hangar bay stretched before Elias and Lyra like a promise of freedom. Dim lights reflected off the smooth walls, and in the center, a small escape pod gleamed under the soft glow. Their chains clinked lightly as they moved in perfect synchronization, their minds focused on one goal: escape. Lyra glanced at Elias. "Almost there. The fleet has our signal. They'll be waiting, but we need to make it to the pod first." Elias nodded. "Step by step. Stay calm. Stay together." The aliens were not far behind. The hum of the ship's systems grew erratic as their previous disruption rippled through the command center. Mechanical arms swiveled in confusion, and floating observation orbs darted around, struggling to regain control. But the humans were already anticipating every movement. Every obstacle was met with coordination and ingenuity. They reached the first barrier, a series of energy gates that pulsed in a complex rhythm. Elias studied the pattern and whispered to Lyra, "We move with the rhythm. Step when it dims, pause when it brightens. Ready?" Lyra gripped his arm. "Ready." Together, they advanced, chains swinging lightly as they moved. Step by step, pause by pause, they passed through the gates without triggering any alarms. The alien sensors flickered, but did not activate defensive protocols. Their cooperation had once again proven too unpredictable for the system to counter. Beyond the gates, a narrow corridor led straight to the escape pod. Energy conduits ran along the ceiling, casting flickering light. Elias and Lyra moved cautiously, anticipating any sudden threats. Suddenly, one of the orbs descended rapidly, blocking their path. Elias reacted instantly. "Mirror me!" he shouted. They shifted to opposite sides, moving in perfect unison, and the orb zipped past harmlessly. That was close, Lyra whispered, heart pounding. Yes, Elias replied. But we're still together. That's what matters. At last, they reached the pod. The door slid open automatically, recognizing the presence of humanoid forms nearby. Elias and Lyra stepped inside, chains still loosely connecting them but no longer a limitation. Lyra activated the controls, initiating the launch sequence. Coordinates? Elias asked. Set for the nearest human fleet vessel, Lyra replied. We've already transmitted our location. They'll intercept us. As the pod detached from the alien ship, alarms echoed through the hangar, and the ship shuddered. The aliens were attempting to regain control, but it was too late. The humans had already exploited the flaws in their systems, using cooperation and ingenuity as their ultimate weapon. Outside the pod, the stars stretched endlessly, a familiar sight after the alien ship's twisting corridors and pulsating lights. Lyra exhaled, relief washing over her. We did it, she said softly. Elias allowed himself a small smile. We didn't just escape. We showed them what humans are capable of. That's more important than survival alone. The human fleet appeared on the sensors, a collection of ships ready to intercept and extract them. The pod's automated systems guided them safely toward the fleet, and communication channels opened. This is Captain Draven and Engineer Voss, Elias transmitted. We're on an escape pod from an alien vessel. Coordinates transmitted. Request immediate retrieval. A crackling voice responded almost immediately. Copy that, Captain. Fleet en route. Prepare for docking. Lyra leaned back, finally allowing herself to relax. I can't believe it. We actually made it out. Elias nodded, eyes scanning the stars. We made it because we trusted each other, adapted, and stayed calm. Humans aren't just strong or clever. We're united. That's our strength. As the pod approached the fleet vessel, rescue teams prepared to secure it. The hatch opened, and human soldiers assisted Elias and Lyra onto the deck. Cheers erupted. They were met with relief, admiration, and respect. Their survival was not just a personal triumph. It was proof that human ingenuity and cooperation could overcome even the most advanced alien technology. In a debriefing chamber, Elias and Lyra explained their experience. Every test, every obstacle, and every strategy was detailed. The alien ship's systems, while advanced, had proven susceptible to adaptability and teamwork, qualities humans had perfected over millennia. The commanding officer leaned forward. Your actions are remarkable. You not only survived, but turned the alien systems against them. Humanity has much to learn from your ingenuity. Lyra smiled faintly. We just followed what humans do best. We think, we adapt, and we work together. Elias added, and we never gave up. Even when it seemed impossible, we relied on our minds and our trust in each other. That's what makes humans different. News of their escape spread quickly throughout the fleet. Scientists, officers, and civilians celebrated the human spirit, inspired by the courage, intelligence, and cooperation that had allowed two humans to survive where others might have failed. Late that evening, Elias and Lyra stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The alien ship was now behind them, its systems disrupted and studied, and the human fleet continued on its mission. Lyra said quietly, We changed something today. Not just for us, but for everyone. We proved humans can overcome anything when we think and act together. Elias nodded. And we'll keep proving it. The universe is full of challenges, but humans, we adapt. We survive. And we thrive. A shooting star streaked across the darkness, a small reminder that even in the vastness of space, hope and courage could shine. As they returned to their quarters, chains now gone, the memory of the alien prison lingered. But it was no longer a symbol of captivity. It was a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. They had faced fear, tested their limits, and worked together to overcome an alien intelligence far beyond their own. And in doing so, they had proven a truth that would echo across human history. Humans were clever, adaptable, and united in a way no enemy could fully control. No alien system, no matter how advanced, could break the mind of a human working with another human, driven by courage, intelligence, and trust. And so, Elias and Lyra prepared for their next mission, knowing that the universe held countless challenges. But they also knew this: together, humans could face anything and prevail.